Hello and welcome to an update of the mating game. Let's start this off with our European nightcrawler bin. This will be week 12 for these guys. Nice and moist. We're seeing a young one here. And we're seeing one of the parents here. It's a big guy. Well, at least compared to these guys. These guys are putting on some size though as well. Really happy about that. I wasn't sure, but the bin being so little. And here is a cocoon. And more babies. Maybe another cocoon. Yeah, babies are at the bottom there. And here's another big guy. I know I started off with 5 mature worms. Here's another baby. But I'm not always finding the big worms. I'm finding now the juveniles. Here we go, baby. And here's a big guy. They're definitely large worms in here. I'm glad they didn't lose their size, and I'm glad those that are being born in here are also gaining some size. I've read that worms will only grow to the size of their environment. So if you have a smaller container, you have smaller worms. But they seem to be doing okay. Well, so far, we'll see. Maybe it's the fact that there aren't as many of them in here. And time will tell. So they're getting about 2 ounces of food. This is watermelon, of course. And a cap full of oyster shell to make everything nice and pH neutral. So these guys are good. I know that the watermelon has a lot of liquid, and that will also help to keep the moisture nice and high in here, which the worms like. So let's go over to the red wiggler bin. Here we are with the red wiggler bin. For those who are just finding my channel, if you notice, I don't have a bunch of holes in my lids. I don't like holes typically. I don't think it's enough aeration. I always cut out a large chunk at the top and then put a mesh, tape a mesh over it just to keep the bugs out. Seems to work really well. So these guys are champs. I don't even have to say anything. They speak for themselves. There's a bunch of them, all sizes. Oops. Constantly moving this little bin. The moisture is also good in here. Lots and lots of juveniles. Babies. I'm just giving it a little toss. Very good. The more the worms populate, the faster they will break down the material. Here's also, oops, where'd you go? Oh, that's a worm. I thought it was a cocoon. Huh. The faster they will break down all this bedding. So I'm not adding any more for now. Hitchhiker. Oh my. Okay. You guys are ready for your feeding? I think you are. Your 2 ounces. And give them the oyster shell. And close them up here. They're doing really, really well. Great, 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 great. Now it's the perionyx turn. Here we are with our blue worms. And let's see what these guys did with the food. Oh yeah, oh, fast, 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 fast. There are a lot more castings here, looking good. As the castings build up in a bin, so does the moisture level, because castings really stay moist, and that's where you can have issues if you're not adding bedding but adding a lot of food that has a high water content, like watermelon. Lots of young guys. Right now I'm not as worried about it. I do have to be careful as the castings build up. I think this is where we fed. I'm seeing a lot, oh yeah, a lot of wormies. Look how fast, look how fast these guys. You know you got blue worms. You know you got blue worms when they're moving like that. Red wigglers do not move like that. Okay, again, just a light tossle here. Here's some more. You can see how many there are. I mean, I honestly think these guys are number one, even beating the red wigglers. But the basement is climate controlled, and they are finicky. So although they do great when the environment is pretty close to perfect, when it gets a little bit off, when there'll be a climbing. Ingrates. So we'll give them their 2 ounces of food. Yeah, so right now I would say these guys are number one. They've taken over. They have moved into the lead. So these guys are done, and let us go to our final bin, which is the African night crawlers. Okay, here are the African night crawlers. And got some really nice castings. These guys really love bedding. They're great with carbon sources. They work it over beautifully. Such a baby. So I'm thinking these guys are going to have this bin full of castings in no time at all. A lot of juvenile worms. Is that a cocoon? Yeah, looks like a cocoon on the small side. It's another larger one. So they're laying cocoons as well. Of course, as I toss all this material around, you can see there are less worms than, like, for example, in the blue bin. Tiny baby, super duper tiny. And not so tiny, but still they're doing really well as well. I'm surprised. They're giving me a lot of babies. Again, such a small bin. Oh, here's one of the big guys. Where'd you go? There you are. It's a big one. Yeah, a lot of young ones. A lot of young worms. So let's get these guys fed and we'll finish this update. Things are looking good in all the bins. And the wormies are doing what they're supposed to do. They're reproducing and they're composting the bedding. So can't complain. Not exactly sure when I'm going to count them. I'm thinking the best time would be when the bedding is composted, so I don't have to add any more bedding, and that way I'll do both a harvest and the counting. But I may have to alter that since these guys may get through the bedding a lot faster than maybe another worm. So we'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens. So these guys are also done, and we'll leave them again for one more week. And we'll come back and visit them and see how they're doing. So thanks for joining me.